Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Your Digital Marketing Coach podcast. It is always a pleasure to bring on the show people that I have known that have been famous in the space. And when I say the space, I'm talking about social media marketing, specifically the space that I come from. Someone that I have seen speak on stages, fellow author. Without further ado, Katie Brinkley, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Neal. This has been a long time coming, so I'm glad that we were able to make this happen.
Yeah, for those, well, you don't need the TMI details, but yeah, this has been a long time coming. So long that we jokingly forgot what we were going to talk about, but we really didn't. So, Katie, you are the founder, owner of your own agency. You're an author, speaker. I know you do a lot of things for a lot of great clients, but before we get into that, what is your story of how you got started with social media and in doing what you're doing today?
Yeah, well, I never expected to be an entrepreneur. And when I went to college, now I'm sounding old, but social media didn't really exist then. My college wasn't even cool enough to be on Facebook or the Facebook at the time, and I was all in on MySpace. And so I wanted to be a sports reporter, and I'm so fortunate. I went to school, graduated, and landed that job. So I was a sports reporter for the Broncos and the Rockies and the Nuggets here in Denver, and I loved what I did. But then this thing called SiriusXM came out, and everyone in the radio industry panicked. And so I moved into marketing, and I started working for the Colorado Rockies TV station. So I got to do a lot of fun traditional marketing, media buys. I got to do billboard designs, script writing. And one of my tasks there was also social media. And it was one of my favorite parts of my job. Long story, super short. My job got transferred to Atlanta. And I was like, there's no way I can do my job for the Colorado Rockies from Atlanta. And I'm not leaving Colorado. Colorado is amazing. So I chose to take the severance, and it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I launched my own agency, and it's been 9 years now. And Next Up Social and Podcasting was born then. And now I've got a great team, and we help entrepreneurs, create amazing social media strategies and podcasts that help them become thought leaders in their space.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I know we've talked before. I'm also an avid sports fan. So let me just say I'm really sorry to hear about the way the Rockies are going
Oh,
this year. And I
no,
want to say the Dodgers are on their way down as we speak as well. So, but
it's
that's another story. But
before going too far down this rabbit hole, like it's I actually enjoy seeing the Rockies lose right now. When the Rockies traded Nolan Arenado to the St. Louis Cardinals. Well, actually, they paid the Cardinals to take the best third baseman in baseball off of our team for a bunch of slums. I said, I am not going to cheer for this team until something drastic happens. And them losing so many games in the 2025 season has been exactly that drastic measure that I think needed to happen. So I'm enjoying every single loss that the Rockies are happening right now, just because of that. That something needed to happen for the Rockies to make a big change. So we'll see what happens at the end of the season, though.
yeah, this is not a baseball podcast, but I did have when the Rockies were in their glory days. I had so many of their players on my fantasy team, and man, they just rocked back in the day. And Arenado, Southern California native, a great guy, always linked to the Dodgers as well. But yeah, that was a really bad business decision. But anyway, like I said,
Mm.
this is not a baseball podcast, and it's funny that you brought up MySpace. I have had one other guest bring up MySpace. I think for most young Gen Z, they don't even know what the heck that is. But yeah, that's really where it started. And she was really into music, which is natural for MySpace. And she got into, music talent agency work and music marketing. And so it's really interesting to hear about the sports side of MySpace and then actually working with local sports team. I mean, how cool is that? That's sort of
Yeah.
like the dream. And then translating that. So I guess then your perspective, you have a journalistic perspective, you have a sports perspective. And when we talk about fans in social media, that to me, like, are your fans like, even though you're going to lose 50 games in a row, are you still going to buy a ticket and go out and see that team? Right. That is a true fan.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how did you convert that into doing what you do today? So when you started your agency, you mentioned you work with a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm sure over time you've worked with a lot of different companies. How did that play out? did you first start doing, organic content, paid content? Were clients coming to you with their needs, or were you saying, hey, you need to be doing this? Or, tell me about that story.
Yeah, well, when I first started out, I remember my boss at the time, she was like, "Man, Katie, you're so good at social media. It'd be really cool if you found a job where social media was all that you did." And I was like, "Okay, well, that would be really cool." But again, 9 years ago, having social media as like your only job, that really was not. That was like maybe an intern type of job, to do just the social media. And so
Back
I was
then,
having a
yeah.
hard time finding something that, for where I was at in life, to be a social media as my only job. And so I got started like anyone else, I guess. I feel that's kind of fumbling along, trying to figure out how they're going to launch a digital business. And I got started on Upwork and Thumbtack, and it I quickly learned how important networking is. And networking for me, up until the pandemic, that was one of the things that I didn't understand from coming from corporate, just as to how important networking was. And when the pandemic happened, that's when I launched my podcast, because networking was shut down. And so that's how I was able to continue networking with different business leaders and business owners. And, um, you know, kind of coming back to the sports side of things, social media, if you can find a way to build your community, or as you say, your fans, social media is one of the best ways to do it. And how can you nurture that community? And it's by showing up for them on a regular basis and like letting them get to know you. And so that's really what's drawn me into social media as being one of the best tools in the tool belt for business owners.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny. I mean, back in the day, we had, and we still have community managers and community. And I think with the work that I do and, writing a book on influencer marketing, we now call, brand ambassadors brand communities. So now communities of your own customers
Mhm.
that has become a very, very hot topic over the last few years. So community is one of these concepts that permeates, and it's really hard. It's really hard to build community without social media, it seems, because it's such a social place, right? So
Mhm.
have you, when working with clients then, and I want to get to what you're most famous for, your 4-step plan. So trying to lead into that, but did you find that community then played a central role in how you were advising and working with your clients?
Yeah, and I think that that's one of the biggest things is virality is it's just like winning the lotto. Like, how exciting would it be to go viral? Yeah, everything's going to be different. But honestly, if it's kind of the Savannah Bananas were just here in Denver. So I'm going back to baseball. And like you said, this isn't a sports podcast, but sorry folks,
No, but
sports is
they
in
are
my
legit. I
blood.
mean, I've seen them written up in the New York Times recently. So
Yeah.
that's a legit topic. Yeah.
And one thing that Jesse Cole has done is he's focused on building a community for around his team. And that's what people are buying into. They know that the baseball is going to be different. They know that it's going to be an experience, whatever, but they want to say they were there. And if you're able to do that as a business, you're going to have people talking about you when you're not in the room. And it's the best form of networking out there. So if I say, yeah, every time I see Neal on LinkedIn, he has these great articles. I love everything he posts. And then someone says, oh, actually, I need this service. Who's going to be top of my mind? And it's because I feel like I'm a part of your community. And so with social media, community is everything. And if you're able to show up and build that community, it's going to help you grow your business in a way that going viral just can't.
So the $1 million question, Katie. So I think Savannah Bananas is part community, but also I think we could also agree part customer experience, right? Of attending that event. So how do you, when working with clients or in social media, or for anyone listening, how do they convert, I guess, content into community?
Yeah, and I think that it's showing up a different way. Uh, everything is it's less of how can what's in it for me, and it's what's in it for them. And I've got over my shoulder here Donald Miller's book. I'm sure if you've never heard of Donald Miller, he created StoryBrand, and it's the hero's journey. One of the books over my shoulder is Hero on a Mission, and it's a great it's a great way of thinking, of taking yourself out of the equation, putting your customer as what's in it for them. And so when you're creating marketing for your ideal customer, they're going to want to buy from you. And so I see it so often with businesses. It's, here's a testimonial, here's how you can work with me, look how great I am, buy. And it's just more white noise. So honestly, you don't need to post on social media if that's the type of social media you're putting out there. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. How can you show up and put your customer first and rephrase all of your marketing so that they say, I can't wait for Neal to post again. It's like he knew what I'm struggling with right now before I even told anyone. It's like, I just hit send on that email, and sure enough, here he is saying like, I've been there too. Here's how I solved this. And so that's where the four post strategies come into play, is creating content that your ideal customer wants to see, that they look for in their timeline. They say, hey, I haven't seen anything from this person in a while. I want to be a part of their community. And when this person is asking for sales, when they're asking, I'm ready to raise my hand and share their name from the rooftop.
Yeah, love it, Katie. So much goodness in what you said. For those that aren't familiar with StoryBrand, Donald Miller, unfortunately, has never been on this podcast. It's not big enough to get him as a name, but yeah, I think that his work has definitely influenced a lot of the way we think about marketing. And I also love your notion of you have to be different, right? And when we look at branding and personal branding, differentiation is one of these core elements. But most companies just forget about that with their social media, right? They're just, all the people that try to emulate Gary Vaynerchuk with the way they post on social media. There's only one Gary Vaynerchuk. There's only one you, and you need to find that secret sauce. So I definitely want to jump into, I assume that your 4-post plan is how you help your clients and entrepreneurs and anyone who reads The Social Shift, which you can buy at your favorite bookstore. But how do then you go about, taking it one step further of putting those ideas into action?
Yeah, and it's really reverse engineering. So if you have a podcast, man, it's super easy to do the 4-post strategy. If you don't have a podcast, well, you should launch one, because there needs to be more podcasts out there. But I digress. Really, the biggest thing is, what action do you want people to take? And how are you going to take them on that journey? So you have to start with that question, is, okay, well, I want more people to listen to the podcast. I want people to come to my event. I want people to sign up for my email newsletter so that they get the first notification of when things go on sale. Whatever it is, what is your end goal? Once you have that figured out, the 4-post strategy is going to be your map, your posts that are going to take people there. So the first post that you're going to do is an awareness post. And it's not necessarily of, hey, I have this thing. It's making people problem aware. So we'll just say, let's just use this podcast as an example. If you're going to use this podcast episode as your end goal, you want more people to listen to this episode, Neal, and how are you going to get them there? Well, your first post is going to be an awareness post. An awareness post could be on Instagram. It could be a reel with trending audio. On Facebook, it could be just a bold sentence. It could, on LinkedIn, it could be a short video, or it could be a LinkedIn poll. I mean, it's what the algorithm wants that pushes you out for the most reach. Those 3 things I listed right there are getting the most reach on the platforms at the time of this recording. And you're posting something for awareness to make people problem aware. And maybe it's just a clip of you saying, let's say, the average business owner spends over 3 hours every single week creating social media content. What would you do with 3 hours of your week back? And that's it. That's the whole post. That maybe it's, like I said, a video, maybe it's just a bold statement, whatever. So it's making people problem aware of, like, hey, I am spending too much time creating social media content every week. 3 hours? Maybe I'm spending more. Am I spending less? You're getting people thinking, and you're also reaching more people. So that's the awareness post.
And I think most people, when marketers, when they hear awareness, they assume like brand awareness of their brand, but it's really awareness, as you said, awareness of the issue that you can solve. So that's some, and also as you, even before that, this has to be very, very specific, objective based content.
Yes.
What is that one objective, right? So everything has to lead into that. That has to be the filter before you post of confirming, will this potentially lead into that action?
Exactly. And it's getting people to say like, oh, I didn't even think of this problem. You're getting people to start thinking about what it is that you're going to be talking about with the rest of your posts. So, because if I just showed up and said like, hey, I have a 4-post strategy, I talk about it on Neal's podcast, people are going to be like, okay, cool, whatever.
Yeah,
But if
agreed.
I could be saving time on social media. Now my interest is peaked, you know.
All right. So our interest is peaked.
All right.
What's the second stage?
The next post is an elaboration post. So this is where you can elaborate on the problem. And maybe it's a LinkedIn newsletter article, maybe on Facebook. What's working really well right now is those posts where it just says like, these 6 things helped me save 4 hours a week or whatever. And then in the comments, you list off all the different things in the comments. Those are working really well on Facebook. On Instagram, maybe it's a carousel post where, again, you're solving the problem. You're positioning yourself as a thought leader saying, here is the problem. You're spending too much time on social media and there's this way to fix it. And so you're giving them the solution right there. The second post of the week is going to be the solution. And people are going to say, wow, this was so helpful. Thank you. You know, I have all this information now. I could go and try and do it if I wanted to, I guess. That was really informative. Thanks. The next post is going to be the community post. And this post should be the one that you have the most fun with because it allows you to bring you into social media. It could be a picture of you and your family. It could be a selfie. It could be a client testimonial. How have you helped a client overcome this problem? So maybe I share a story and I have a picture of me and my daughter from one of her softball games up there. And I say, oh, this summer was incredible. I got to be at every single one of my daughter's softball games and softball practices. It's because I learned how to do, I was going from 4 hours a week creating social media content. Now I spend 40 minutes creating my social media content every single week. I had no idea about the things I'd be missing from all this time that I could be spending with my daughter this summer. You know, sharing me and how I overcame it. I started doing this thing, whatever the problem is that you talked about in the previous 2 posts. And then the last post is the action post. Hey, maybe it's a screenshot of you and I here doing this recording. We can both, take a picture. Or maybe it's a clip, an opus clip from the podcast here of us talking about it, saying, Katie Brinkley sits down with us and walks us through step by step on how to save your time on social media. So you're starting to get actual leads and results and you're not pulling your hair out, and social media can be fun again. Check it out in this week's episode. Comment podcast below and I'll send you the link. You're telling people, hey, there's even more ways to learn. There's a podcast about it.
I love that. I have a lot of questions, but I love that third community post because there's so many people who talk about what they do, how they serve, yet they never talk about how it serves them. Like, are they even drinking their own medicine? And for a lot of people, I don't think they are, right? And if they are, and they should talk about it because it becomes exponentially powerful. And as you were saying that, I thought about that, if someone was to do that, how powerful a message that is on the receiving end. So I'm curious. So we have these 4 posts. Is this something that you're recommending people on a weekly basis, basically repeat the cycle, or what is, how then do we take this as an ongoing initiative?
So it's a different way of posting and creating content. Obviously, you sit down, you think, okay, these are my main objectives for the month. It's very strategy and data driven social media, but it works. If you sit down and decide, okay, these are what I want. These are my goals for the month. This is how I'm going to use social media to help me get there. you'll have leads come in, you'll have sales come in. It will work. You'll see the ROI on it, but it takes you time to sit down and say, okay, this is what I want to have happen. Um, and it's a different way of thinking. I, full transparency, took the summer off from social media. It was a very nice vacation. But I typically post 3 times a week, and I just do this circle with all of my posts. And I have my days that I post regularly on social media, and those posts will come out on a regular basis and based on the 4-post strategy. So you can post, if you're crazy, you can do this strategy 4 times a day. I don't know, you do you, but it's just designed to take people through the customer journey, get the right people raising their hand, the right people interested, and the right people taking action.
Gotcha. So it's something you could do. Well, I mean, every day I think is extreme, but every week, every month, and really fine tune it with data that shows the platforms, the language, what have you, that's working together with, well, what is that very, very specific objective that you have at that point in time, which is always changing.
Yeah, and I think too, with social media, if you're not tracking the data, what's the point? We don't need more white noise out there. Um, honestly, like what? Why are you on social media? Is it for followers? Which I mean, if that's your goal, like okay, like that's your goal. But I mean, like, is it for leads? Is it for sales? Is it what? Why are you investing your time? Because time is so valuable. And if you're investing this time with it, man, I hope that you're getting your ROI out of it.
Indeed. So you mentioned podcasting. And as you were speaking, and this is a concept I talk about in digital threads called platform authentic content, but it's the same thing. It's really giving the algorithms the content formats that it
Mhm,
wants at that time, which is always changing.
mhm.
And so therefore you mentioned, reels and other sort of short form videos. So obviously if you podcast and you create video recordings of your podcast, you then have that content. If not, there's still a lot of people that have never created a reel, or maybe they've created one, a photo dump reel, right? But they've never really created one for their business. So do you find when working with clients, because there's a lot of content you can help them create, but when it comes down to the short form video and them showing up, they have to show up, right? So what advice do you give people that maybe they've done them, but they've just not gotten into the groove? And, myself included, I do a lot of short form video of podcasts, but not enough of me alone. And I want to be doing more of that. So what advice do you give on that most difficult type of content format?
Yeah, short form video, man, you gotta be doing it. And I, pot calling the kettle black. Like my my team too is always like, Katie, we need more B-roll footage. We need this, we need that. And so I mean, like, I got some footage of me filling up my coffee this morning, and
Yay.
it's just got to get in the habit of filming yourself, at least for the B-roll, because that can be used at any time. So the B-roll footage is great. Just get in the habit of filming yourself, whether it's recording a podcast, whether, getting your coffee, going on a walk, whatever. But talking to the camera, I get it. It can be super duper tricky. This is why it's really great to have a podcast. And if you have a podcast, you're going to get that short form video. You're going to get you talking to the camera. You're going to get those clips. So if you're struggling on getting more video content, I mean, having a podcast, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, I will say one thing that I am experimenting with. I just got back from 2 weeks in Asia. So in Japan, because the dollar yen rate is really, really good, I ended up getting this little bad boy, which
Oh,
is called
nice.
a PowerShot V10. So it is just specifically for vlogging, right? And I'm hoping, because we all have phones, there's no excuse, but I'm hoping with a separate device that I can just pull out at any time, put in my pocket as I go. And it includes a selfie, camera. So it includes a record button on the other side. So you can actually see yourself shooting. And it also has the perfect angle for a selfie video. So I'm
Nice.
hoping, but obviously I've yet to take it out of the box, but I just got back a week ago. But, I'm doing my best to try to get into that habit. If it requires a separate device to do that, whatever it takes, I agree wholeheartedly that we need to be doing more of this. And it is what the algorithms want. So,
Yeah.
thank you for that advice. Katie, we've gone through, the 4-step plan and really being intent with what we post on social media. Is there any other, since we have you on the line, so to speak, is there any other, advice for the entrepreneurs, the small business owners that are listening on how they can improve their social media? I think you've already given a lot of hints already, but anything else that you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think that one of the biggest things is, show up as you. Again, need to take my own advice with this too. There's been plenty of time where I'm like, my hair doesn't look that good. I'm not going to record. Oh, I'm not going to do. People, they want to see you, and I think that that's one of the best parts of being a business owner is showing the true side of you. So just start hitting record yourself a lot. Keep it all in a Google Drive, keep it, wherever you can so that you have that access and you can just say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and post, because if you don't have anything to post, then you're never going to be able to hit publish. So show up as you. You need to be the spokesperson for your brand. That's one of the best ways to grow your business, is having someone being willing to be the face of the brand, and who better than you?
Yeah. Amen, Katie. And I know when I was in your podcast, we talked at length about this, but obviously, if you don't know what to say, you have an objective. Well, what short form video could I create? What could I say? Well, that's where AI is a great way to brainstorm ideas. And even potentially, if you want to go that far, of actually create a script that you could say. So I would say there's no excuse other than, as Seth Godin would say, we all over time have these like lizard brains, and they're just something that prevents us from doing something. And we have to get over that. And, I'm Katie, I'm sure you've seen, once your clients get over that, it just gets really easy and natural, right?
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And one of my clients, like, she's always recording different TikToks, and I'm like, man, this is great. Like, we have so much content. Like, just keep recording, keep recording. So, I mean,
Yeah.
if once you start, just get in the habit. And I know starting the habit is the hardest part. So you can do
Yeah,
it.
and let me tell you, you can never have too much content. I mean, I was in Mongolia for a week, Japan for a week. For those that listen to this podcast, you're going to see in the summer, like you took time off social media. I took a little bit of time off this podcast, but I had so many videos in my queue that if you were following me on TikTok, you would never know that I wasn't there, because I had that content pipeline. So, amen to that. Katie, this has been awesome. Where can people go to find out more about you, your business, connect with you, buy your book? Let's hear it all.
Yeah, so katiebrinkley.com is the best place to go. You can get the book, you can connect with me on socials there, learn about the agency, Next Step Social. Everything there is at katiebrinkley.com.
And someday I hope to be able to catch a Dodgers Rockies game in Denver, and I want to see you there.
Hey, I'll meet you there. I will be cheering on the Dodgers, unless again something major happens for the Rockies. But changes need to happen.
Well, it just cannot get any worse. I think we can all agree. So,
Yeah.
Katie, thank you so much for your time, sharing your expertise with my audience.
Yeah, thank you for having me.